Let's call off the wedding.
The three of them announced it in perfect unison. The guests began whispering among themselves the moment they saw the video, glancing at Nancy and me. I felt unbearably uncomfortable, shrinking into myself with rounded shoulders. Looking at Nancy, I saw she was bowing her head, just like me. Nearby, a staff member, alarmed by the situation, spoke hurriedly into their headset to another staff member.
A plain girl like Nancy is just out of place for someone like me.
Kevin said, laughing as if he were enjoying himself, adding insult to injury. His mother chimed in with a nasty smile.
Kevin's next partner has already been chosen. She's the beautiful daughter of a wealthy family. Someone like you deserves to be dumped.
As the video ended, the room grew even noisier. The MC looked completely flustered, unsure of how to handle the situation.
Mom, Dad, I'm so sorry.
Tears started streaming down Nancy's face. I clenched my teeth in frustration. At that moment, Michael, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder, said,
I'm firing all of them.
There was no way we could forgive Kevin and his family for what they did to Nancy. They would all pay for this. My name is Susan Carter, and am 52 years old. I work part-time and live with my husband, Michael, who is the same age, and our 25-year-old daughter, Nancy. These days, we live a peaceful life, but 15 years ago, things were incredibly tough. That's because Michael's parents had cut ties with us. Michael came from a wealthy family, and his father was the CEO of a well-known company. On the other hand, I was from an average family, so his parents strongly opposed our marriage. When we went ahead with the wedding anyway, Michael's parents were furious. His father was particularly enraged and fired Michael from the family company where he had been employed. The following years were incredibly challenging. My elderly parents couldn't help us, and it was difficult for Michael to find another job. Many companies hesitated to hire him due to their business ties with his father's company. Eventually, Michael found work at a small company with fewer than 10 employees. Of course, we couldn't survive on Michael's salary alone, so I started working part-time. I took a job at a cleaning company and often found myself in situations that made me want to cry. Still, I worked hard because I wanted to be with Michael. Our turning point came 15 years ago. Michael's mother contacted him out of the blue. His father was terminally ill and had only a short time left, so they wanted Michael to take over the family business. Michael was furious at their audacity after years of silence, but I calmed him down. By that time, Nancy had already been born, and she had changed our perspective. As a parent, I could understand their feelings. If your cherished son marries a woman like me, ordinary, with no standout qualities, you might oppose it too. So we reconciled with Michael's parents, and he took over his father's company. 5 years after Michael assumed leadership, his father passed away. Supporting his grieving mother became my role. For the next 10 years, Michael worked tirelessly to manage the company. Nancy joined one of its related companies, where she worked hard. We thought we would keep working together as a family of 3. Just then, Nancy came to me with unexpected news. One evening, Nancy asked to speak with me.
I'm getting married and I'd like to introduce him to you.
Really? Who is he? I hadn't heard Nancy talk about romance recently, so I was surprised. He was Kevin Brown, 32 years old. He had transferred to Nancy's workplace a year ago. She said he was the son of the department manager and had a charming smile. However, I had one concern. Getting married after only 6 months of dating, isn't that way too soon? Can't you wait a little longer? She explained that Kevin had confessed his love to her 6 months ago, intending to marry, and had proposed recently. Having gone through struggles in my own marriage, I couldn't help but worry. Nancy, however, chuckled and replied,
It's fine, Mom. Kevin and his father both work at my company, so their background is clear.
"If you're sure, I won't object." Nancy was quite stubborn and never changed her mind once she decided something. And as a fully grown adult, she had the right to make her own choices. So I couldn't say anything more.
Next Sunday, Kevin is coming over to introduce himself. I would like you to meet him, even if it's just you.
All right. Michael would probably be working on Sunday. Reluctantly, I agreed to meet Kevin on my own. And so, Sunday arrived.
My name is Kevin Brown. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Kevin introduced himself politely in our living room. Just as Nancy had said, he seemed like a pleasant young man. The conversation flowed smoothly until Kevin suddenly asked,
By the way, I don't see your husband. Where is he?
Looking around curiously, he was answered by Nancy on my behalf.
Dad's at work today. He often works even on his days off.
As the CEO of his company, Michael frequently attended events or hosted clients on Sundays. Although I used to feel lonely about it, I had always supported his efforts. But Kevin let out a dismissive laugh.
Working at a dead-end company. Doesn't sound like he's making much money.
Kevin, what was that? I had overheard his muttering and felt uneasy. Nancy, who hadn't caught his words, looked puzzled. Kevin, however, quickly switched gears and put on a bright smile.
Oh, nothing. I'm just impressed by his dedication to his job.
I see. Had I misheard him? The rest of the visit went smoothly without incident. In the end, Kevin thanked me politely and left. But his words and expression lingered in my mind. 6 months after Kevin's visit, Nancy's behavior noticeably changed. She sighed often and seemed distracted. That day, Michael happened to be home and looked worried as he noticed Nancy's demeanor. "Nancy, what's wrong? If something's bothering you, you can tell us." Nancy looked on the verge of tears as she responded.
The truth is, Kevin's parents are against our marriage.
Why would they object?
Michael frowned deeply. I had already told him about Kevin's behavior the other day, including how he had arbitrarily assumed it was a dead-end company. Perhaps he was considering what that might mean.
Kevin's dad is the department manager at my company, right? It seems like he doesn't approve of someone plain like me.
That's all? I felt annoyed. It's true that Nancy's style isn't flashy, and she wears light makeup. But with her well-defined features, inherited from Michael's good looks, she doesn't need much to look stunning.
Our company does have a lot of beautiful women. I guess it's no surprise that he thinks that way.
Nancy gave a weak smile. That evening, as I passed by Nancy's room, I heard her talking, possibly on the phone. It sounded like the person on the other end was berating her, as Nancy kept apologizing repeatedly. Worried, I gently opened her door. The voice on the phone was so loud that I could clearly hear the conversation.
That's why I'm telling you, you're not a good match for Kevin. How did someone as plain as you manage to win him over? You're awful, pretending to be innocent.
It seemed the caller was Kevin's mother.
I am sorry.
Nancy stammered, unsure of how to respond. Quietly, I took the phone from Nancy. Nancy was surprised, but I ignored her expression. This is Nancy's mother speaking. Frankly, don't you think your comments are going too far? Kevin's mother retorted with even harsher words.
Excuse me? Your daughter's been bothering my Kevin, and it's incredibly annoying. His future wife needs to be beautiful with respectable parents.
Listening to her loud complaints, I felt a wave of disgust. After all, it was Kevin who proposed to Nancy. Sighing, I calmly replied, Kevin is an adult. Don't you think it's best to leave this matter to them?
Absolutely not. I'll do whatever it takes to stop this wedding. Mark my words.
She shouted and slammed the phone down. Only the sound of the call ending remained.
Mom, I'm sorry. Kevin's mom has been like this all along. She wasn't like this when I first introduced myself, though.
Nancy gave a weak smile, but it was painful to see her like this. After comforting her, I left her room. As I closed the door, I muttered to myself, can this wedding really happen peacefully? The ceremony was just a week away. 3 months ago, when we met Kevin's parents, they had been perfectly pleasant. Michael couldn't attend due to an unmissable work commitment, but they didn't seem offended.
We're so grateful for this wonderful connection.
Nancy is such a responsible person at work. We're confident she'll take good care of Kevin.
Were those kind words nothing but lies? Now, at the last moment, his parents were opposing the wedding. I was overwhelmed by an inexplicable sense of unease. The day before the wedding finally arrived. Nancy, looking anxious, came to talk to Michael and me.
About tomorrow, Kevin suddenly said he wants to make a dramatic entrance partway through. I would prefer for him to just be there with me from the start.
What? What do you mean?
I've never heard of just the groom making an entrance partway through. That's unusual.
The wedding was set to take place at a guest house. There wouldn't be a ceremony. It would start with the reception. But normally, both the bride and groom would make their entrance together. My puzzled expression must have been obvious because Nancy continued.
He wants me to make my entrance first, then show a wedding video. After it ends, Kevin wants to appear. He says it's for a fun, unique presentation.
That's certainly a different approach. Maybe he's planning some kind of surprise entertainment. The more Nancy explained, the less it made sense. Michael seemed to share my feelings as he looked just as concerned.
I really don't understand what Kevin is thinking. And apparently he secretly told the wedding staff about it beforehand. Isn't it strange to inform me just the day before?
Nancy furrowed her brows. Even she seemed to find it hard to accept. Shouldn't you talk to Kevin about it? Having just the groom make an entrance partway through is really odd.
Exactly. Wouldn't you feel more comfortable if Kevin was by your side, Nancy?
But Nancy shook her head.
It's difficult. Kevin hasn't been answering my calls much lately. And at work, he often goes straight home after being out.
It's unbelievable that you can't reach him, especially with the wedding so close. Are you sure everything's okay?
I trust Kevin, so it's fine. Sorry for worrying you.
Nancy smiled, and we couldn't say anything more. The wedding day arrived. We were informed by the venue staff that the bride and groom would have separate waiting rooms. We debated whether to visit Kevin's room, but we didn't want to leave Nancy alone. Besides, if Kevin really had planned a surprise to make Nancy happy, it would be rude to interfere. In the end, Michael and I decided to head straight to the reception hall without seeing Kevin. But as we arrived, we noticed something unusual. Kevin's parents aren't here.
Are they still in the waiting room? The ceremony's about to start.
At our table, there were 2 empty seats. Those were for Kevin's parents. Aside from those 2 seats, everyone else had already taken their places, creating an atmosphere of eager anticipation for the reception. We didn't want to cause a scene. So we agreed to quietly wait for Kevin's parents to arrive. Later, we would deeply regret that decision. As the MC introduced her, Nancy entered the hall alone, and the room erupted in applause. Her dress, a custom piece made specifically for this day, was breathtaking. Nancy looks absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, Kevin is a lucky man.
Michael nodded emphatically. Thinking about my daughter leaving our home, I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. I knew it was too early to feel sentimental since the marriage wasn't official yet. But after spending 25 years together, the bond we shared was undeniable. Once Nancy took her seat, the MC introduced the wedding video. The lights dimmed, and the video started playing on the large screen. I expected it to be a montage of Nancy and Kevin's journey together. But my assumption couldn't have been more wrong. What? What is this? The video showed close-ups of Kevin and his parents. All of the 3 were grinning smugly.
What is going on here? This feels wrong.
Michael muttered. He seemed visibly irritated. Then, in the next moment, things took an outrageous turn.
Let's call off the wedding.
The three of them announced in perfect unison. As soon as the guests saw the video, they began whispering while glancing at Nancy and me. I felt incredibly uncomfortable, shrinking into myself. Michael's face contorted with anger. Looking at Nancy, I saw she was also bowing her head, just like me. Nearby, a staff member seemed flustered by the situation and spoke urgently into their headset. Apparently, this wasn't part of the plan. And yet, the video continued to play.
I mean, a plain girl like Nancy is just not a match for someone like me.
Kevin said, laughing smugly. His mother added with a nasty smile.
Kevin's next partner is already decided. She's the daughter of a wealthy family and absolutely gorgeous. You deserve to be dumped.
When the video ended, the room grew even louder. The MC looked flustered, clearly unsure of how to proceed. There was no way this wedding could continue. I turned to comfort Nancy. But in the next moment, I froze.
Mom, Dad, I'm so sorry.
Tears streamed down Nancy's face. Her sadness was palpable. Nancy, you've done nothing wrong. You're our precious daughter, I said, hugging her tightly.
But if I had talked more with Kevin, maybe things would have turned out differently. I wouldn't have embarrassed you both.
Her shoulders shook as she cried harder. She was clearly devastated by the video. Nancy. Seeing her tears, I felt my own welling up. Anger and frustration at my own helplessness made me clench my teeth. At that moment, Michael placed a hand on my shoulder and said,
I'm going to make sure all of them pay for this.
He was visibly furious. He couldn't forgive Kevin and his family for what they'd done to Nancy. They would all regret this. That evening, Nancy's phone rang. The call was from Kevin. Nancy looked visibly distressed. After asking her permission, I answered the call instead. Kevin, where are you right now? You've done something truly outrageous today.
Oh, Susan, you startled me.
Kevin responded, his tone completely devoid of remorse. I could hear laughter in the background, presumably from his parents.
There's no need to get so angry.
Exactly. It was just a little joke.
I will absolutely drag them down to hell. I silently switched the call to speaker mode. Playing that video during the wedding and then running off. I'm deeply disappointed in you, Kevin. Kevin's tone became defensive.
I mean, what's the point of marrying into a family where the father works for a low-paying company? There's no benefit for me.
Exactly. I'm a department manager at a well-known company after all. That's a much better position than anything your family can offer.
Kevin's father chimed in, laughing loudly.
It's such a relief we don't have to connect with such a low-class family. Can you imagine Kevin suffering in the future? and expecting Kevin to support you in your old age? Ridiculous.
My husband earns significantly more than your family does. Isn't it embarrassing to act so high and mighty while stuck at department manager level? I jabbed back at their rude remarks, but they didn't seem affected.
Even with a high title, it's still a low-paying job at a lousy company, right? Let's be honest, your family's achievements don't mean much.
Kevin's mother retorted, her tone dripping with disdain. Her words pushed me past my limit. Working at a subsidiary while acting all superior. Honestly, it's pitiful. You wouldn't even get hired as a junior staff member at the parent company.
What did you just say? That's going too far.
Kevin's father shouted angrily. The three of them were obnoxiously loud, throwing insults even at Michael. As I opened my mouth to deliver another retort, Michael placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. Michael? I turned to see Michael speaking.
I've been listening for a while now, and your attitude is appalling. I won't tolerate anyone insulting my wife or daughter.
Oh, so the dad from the sweatshop finally shows up? You were able to take a day off today?
Kevin laughed smugly, but I could tell his confidence would soon crumble. Michael calmly began.
People as disrespectful as you aren't welcome in our family. I'm actually relieved the wedding was called off.
I'm relieved too. I don't have to marry into a poor family anymore. I already have a new girlfriend lined up. Nancy is no longer needed, so am returning her.
Well said, Kevin.
Kevin's father laughed obnoxiously, his lack of class on full display. Without raising his voice, Michael replied calmly to Kevin.
Tomorrow, be ready for what's coming.
Is something exciting supposed to happen? Well, I'll be at work as usual, so I have no plans to visit your place.
Kevin's tone hinted that he had no intention of meeting us again.
Exactly. It's a weekday, and we're busy. Though I guess a sweatshop doesn't have regular weekends off anyway.
Kevin's father added bluntly. They seemed to think they could just move on as if nothing had happened. But there was no way I would let that happen.
Let them talk. They'll destroy themselves soon enough.
Michael said, but I couldn't hold back anymore and spoke directly to Kevin and his family. You can enjoy your arrogance for now. I'll make sure to inform Mark Smith to fire you all. Kevin's tone changed instantly.
Mark Smith? The CEO of our company? How do you even know him?
She's bluffing. There's no way these people know our CEO. She must have heard his name from Nancy.
Kevin's father said, still acting confident, but Michael's next words wiped away their smug expressions.
Of course, I know him. Mark used to work under me.
What?
Kevin and his family were stunned into silence. That's enough. I decided to reveal the truth to them. You still don't get it? My husband is the CEO of your company's parent company.
The parent company's CEO?
I don't understand.
Kevin and his father were visibly shaken. Being shocked by their own company's CEO would be understandable, but learning that it was the CEO of the parent company must have been even more devastating. Even Kevin's mother, who had been silent, started to panic and question Kevin and his father.
What is going on? Are you sure everything's okay?
I didn't know. We never interact with the parent company.
The family began arguing amongst themselves. Michael let out a small laugh and added,
You didn't even check the seating chart at the wedding, did you? Mark was there, you know. He saw that video and was furious.
The CEO attended the wedding? No one told us.
Mark attended the wedding for our son. He wasn't even invited. That can't be true.
Kevin's father's voice trembled. It was no surprise he couldn't believe that the CEO had been at the wedding of a regular employee.
Nancy invited him. We've been close to Mark for a long time.
Kevin's father could only manage a choked sound. He was clearly overwhelmed. He must be realized how humiliating it was to have displayed such behavior in front of the CEO. That awful video had been seen by the worst possible person. Michael pressed on.
By the way, I outrank Mark. I have the authority to intervene in the management of subsidiary companies.
What? What should we do? If we lose our job, how will we survive?
Kevin's mother seemed shaken by the shocking turn of events. Humiliating themselves in front of their company's CEO would surely result in some consequences. But I couldn't muster any sympathy for her. There's nothing you can do. You too will be leaving the company, and of course, so will your mistress.
What? She's got nothing to do with this. She wasn't even in the video.
Kevin retorted defensively. I responded firmly. The moment she got involved with an engaged man, she was out of line. Besides, she's just a temp worker. She doesn't contribute to the company and isn't needed. After inquiries with the subsidiary, it turned out that Kevin's mistress was notorious for skipping work and making frequent mistakes. Her contract was supposed to be up for renewal next week, but there was no chance of that happening now.
But she's from a good family, you know. Aren't you worried about the backlash if you cut her off so easily?
Kevin's mother raised her voice, trying to argue. Her outdated reasoning left me speechless for a moment. You're quite off the mark. Our group operates on meritocracy. Family background doesn't matter here.
Meritocracy. Rich people always have more influence.
Kevin's mother desperately objected.
She's not from a wealthy family. She may have pretended to be refined in front of men, but she's just an ordinary girl. She holds no sway over our company.
That's not true. I trust her. And how do you even know all this?
Kevin's voice was trembling now, filled with desperation. His tone was so pitiful, it almost sounded like he was playing the victim. Meanwhile, Michael calmly explained.
She works for one of our subsidiary companies. Upon checking, we found out her father works for the same temp agency as her.
Kevin's face twisted in confusion at Michael's revelation.
I thought she came from a good family. That's why I was planning to replace Nancy with her. All that effort was wasted.
Dumping Nancy for such a shallow reason makes you the worst kind of man. You've lost all my respect.
Michael was inwardly furious. It was only natural, given the terrible things done to his beloved daughter. At that moment, Nancy, who had been silent until now, spoke up.
It wasn't just a waste, it's a massive loss.
Nancy, you're here?
Ignoring Kevin's startled reaction, Nancy continued.
You betrayed me, Kevin. I'll be demanding compensation, both from you and your mistress. And you'll also cover all the costs for the wedding and the apologies owed to the attendees.
Nancy's eyes burned with anger. Her determination was crystal clear. It was obvious she wouldn't let him escape. Kevin started panicking.
Wait, I don't have that kind of money. I barely make it through the month with my paycheck as it is.
Kevin's parents joined in, wailing.
That's right. We're just a normal family. We can't pay hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I don't have any savings either. We were planning on relying on Kevin for support in our old age.
Michael finally stepped in.
If you're not satisfied, we can settle this in court. Our company's legal team will handle it. Of course, the amount you owe might increase.
Michael's words threw Kevin and his family into deeper disarray.
There's no way we'd win a lawsuit. Hey, Kevin, why don't we restart the wedding plans?
Yeah, Nancy, let's redo the wedding. This time, I promise it'll be there properly.
This was just a small misunderstanding after all. Nancy, you're at fault for hiding that your dad is a CEO. Let's apologize to each other and start over.
Their sudden shift in attitude infuriated me. You've got some nerve, acting like nothing happened without even apologizing. Why don't you show some remorse for once? Even as I yelled, they refused to show any regret. Instead, Kevin turned to Nancy.
Could you please stay out of this? Nancy, you still love me, don't you? Let's restart the wedding. Your family can cover the expenses.
Exactly. Even if Nancy doesn't earn much, Michael's wealth can make up for it, right? Just fund the wedding for us.
And while you're at it, make me a director at your company. Since we're family now, it's only fair I get some benefits out of it.
Michael was appalled by Kevin and his family, who looked down on us and still had the nerve to say whatever they wanted.
They're not normal.
You people, enough already.
Mom, wait.
Just as I was about to yell at them again, Nancy stopped me. She then spoke in a calm voice.
I don't love Kevin anymore. I won't marry him and I'm going to make sure he pays for everything he's done.
What?
Kevin, who never doubted Nancy would marry him, looked genuinely shocked.
Our lawyer will be in touch, so make sure you respond properly.
Come on, Nancy, don't be like this. Just admit it, you still love me deep down, right?
Kevin's pitiful tone prompted Michael to deal the finishing blow.
You're all fired. I doubt Mark will object to the decision. And don't worry, we'll ensure every penny owed is collected. Be ready for that.
That's awful. What am I supposed to do without my job title? No girls will date me now.
Please, not unemployment. We still have a mortgage to pay.
Ignoring Kevin and his parents' desperate cries, Michael hung up. They would deeply regret their actions soon enough. After that, Nancy and Kevin's engagement was officially broken off. Kevin and his father were fired. Kevin's mistress lost her temp job. Of course, the wedding fiasco wasn't the only reason for their dismissals. Kevin's father had been involved in numerous fraudulent activities at work. It started with Kevin and other cases of nepotism. While normal hiring practices wouldn't have been an issue, in the Kevin's father's case, it was highly unethical. The affiliated company encouraged nepotism, offering a referral bonus to those whose recommendations led to successful hires. He exploited this system, repeatedly hiring relatives only to have them resign soon after. The number of such cases reached dozens. It seems he made quite a significant amount of money from this scheme. Normally, such fraud would be exposed quickly, but Kevin's father had been blackmailing the HR manager, his former colleague, to keep quiet. When confronted later, the HR manager confessed everything. According to Michael, Kevin's father would be required to repay all the money he embezzled. It should be a significant amount. As for Kevin, an even more shocking revelation surfaced. His mistress was actually married with young children. Cheating with a married woman was a serious offense, even if Kevin claimed ignorance. On top of that, he had been preying on younger female employees, earning their resentment. Kevin had never been good at his job. He was frequently making mistakes that his colleagues had to fix. Having such an employee only brought negative value to the company. As a result, Kevin was fired along with his father and forced to leave the company. Kevin then began obsessing over Nancy. He started waiting for her outside work and making repeated anonymous calls. When Nancy answered one, Kevin pleaded,
Please, let's start over. You don't want to be unhappy, do you?
Then he hung up. This could eventually put Nancy in danger. Feeling fearful, we decided to consult the police. We reported Kevin's behavior and successfully obtained a restraining order against him. However, Kevin showed no remorse and repeatedly appeared in front of Nancy. Finally, he was arrested by the police and taken into custody.
Am Nancy's husband. Let me go to her.
Nancy and I happened to be shopping when it happened, and his bloodshot eyes sent chills down my spine. As he was being escorted away, Nancy murmured,
I'm so glad I didn't marry him. In a way, that video saved me.
It was true. Marrying Kevin would have brought her nothing but misery. Even Kevin's parents were being questioned by the authorities. We would never see them again, but they had certainly hit rock bottom. 3 years have passed since then. Nancy has fully recovered and moved on.
I couldn't care less about Kevin.
Actually, Nancy found a new connection after that incident. Since the fiasco, her colleagues have supported her, taking her out for meals and introducing her to new people. Nancy eventually fell in love with one of them. He was a man 5 years her senior, who is kind, steady, and dependable. Now, Nancy is expecting her first child. Watching her lovingly cradle her belly, I realized she was already a wonderful mother. Michael couldn't contain his joy.
I can't wait to be called Grandpa.
He said with a beaming smile. His happiness made me smile too. I've also started a new chapter in my life. I will be working as Michael's secretary. After all, he will soon be taking on the role of chairman.
I'm so glad to have you by my side, Susan.
Seeing how happy he was, I felt even more motivated. My life isn't over yet. For the sake of my family, I'll keep giving it my all.